Alexei, a man in his 40s, was driving his old pickup truck, returning from a farmer's market in a nearby village. He was an ordinary man, a mechanic by trade, fond of solitude and the quiet of nature. His life flowed steadily, without major upheavals, but that day everything changed. The road was deserted, with only the occasional car speeding by, kicking up clouds of dust. Alexei drove the pickup, listening to the engine's familiar hum. His gaze drifted over the landscape until it caught something unusual in the ditch by the roadside. At first, he thought it was just a pile of rags or trash, but upon closer inspection, he froze. A massive body covered in mud lay motionless, a lion, huge but seemingly lifeless. Alexei slowed down, his heart pounding. Dead, he thought. But something, instinct, curiosity, or perhaps something greater, made him hit the brakes. He turned off the engine and the silence enveloped him. Only the wind rustled through the dry grass and a bird cried out somewhere in the distance. Alexei stepped out of the truck, his eyes fixed on the animal. The lion lay in the ditch, half sunk in the mud, its fur matted, ribs protruding under its skin. The predator's eyes were closed, its breathing barely perceptible, weak and irregular. Alexei stepped closer, adrenaline coursing through his veins. He had seen lions before, but always from a distance, in safety. Now before him lay the true king of beasts, not majestic but pitiful, almost gone. I should keep going, he thought. But his legs wouldn't move. Something about this massive, tormented creature wouldn't let him leave. He crouched down, studying the lion. Its heart was still beating, slowly but stubbornly. Alexei noticed the lion's chest barely rising and realized if he drove away, the lion would die. Right here in this filthy ditch, alone. The decision came on its own. Alexei returned to the pickup, pulling an old blanket and a rope from the truck bed. He knew the lion weighed at least 180 kilograms, maybe more. Alone, without help, he was unlikely to manage. But there was no choice. Cars sped by, drivers casting curious glances, but no one stopped. Alexei didn't expect help. He was used to relying on himself. Gathering his strength, he tied the rope around the lion, trying not to think about the possibility of the animal waking up and sending him to the afterlife with a single swipe of its paw. The mud squelched under his feet, sweat stung his eyes, but Alexei pulled. His muscles ached, the rope cut into his palms, but he didn't give up. Step by step, he dragged the lion out of the ditch and onto dry grass. The animal didn't move, only its faint breathing signaling it was still alive. Alexei spread out the blanket and, straining every muscle, rolled the lion onto it. Then he maneuvered the pickup closer and, using an improvised lever made from boards found in the truck bed, hauled the animal into the vehicle. The lion lay in the truck bed, massive and still, while Alexei, breathing heavily, pulled out his phone and searched for the number of the nearest veterinary center. The signal was weak, but he managed to reach a local wildlife reserve with a team dedicated to saving wild animals. A lion? Alive? The voice on the other end sounded skeptical. Where did you find it? In a ditch, by the road, Alexei replied, wiping sweat from his brow. It's barely breathing. Help. All right, bring it to us, but honestly, its chances are slim. Alexei didn't argue. He got behind the wheel and drove, careful not to speed and jostle the lion. The road felt endless. In the rearview mirror, he could see the animal lying in the truck bed, and he prayed it would survive the trip to the reserve. Questions swirled in his mind. How did the lion end up in the ditch? Had it been hit by a car or escaped from some illegal menagerie? There were no answers. At the reserve, they were already waiting. The veterinarians, upon seeing the lion, shook their heads. The animal was emaciated, dehydrated, covered in wounds and parasites. They immediately got to work, cleaning the wounds, setting up IV drips, administering antibiotics. Alexei stood aside, watching as the people in white coats bustled around the massive predator. One of the vets approached him. You did well to bring it here, but honestly, it's in terrible shape. If it survives the night, it'll be a miracle. Alexei nodded, but inside his stomach churned. He couldn't explain why he felt so attached to this lion. Perhaps because he himself knew what it was like to be on the edge when it seems no one will help. He left his number and drove home, but he didn't sleep that night, his thoughts consumed by the animal. Morning brought good news. The lion had survived. The vet said it was responding to treatment, but there was still a long road ahead. Alexei began visiting the reserve almost daily. He helped however he could, bringing food, cleaning the enclosure, or just sitting nearby, watching the lion slowly regain strength. They named the animal Assad, meaning lion in Arabic. The name suited him perfectly. A month later, Assad could stand on his own. His fur, though not as lustrous as that of healthy lions, began to shine. His eyes, once clouded with pain, now burned with life. That day, Alexei arrived at the reserve as usual, carrying a bag of meat for Assad. The lion was lying in the shade of a tree, but as soon as he saw the man, he stood up. Alexei froze. Assad approached slowly, his massive paws stepping softly but confidently. The vets tensed, ready to intervene, but the lion showed no aggression. He stopped in front of Alexei, looked into his eyes, and then gently placed his massive head on the man's shoulder. Assad closed his eyes, his breathing calm, almost serene. In that moment, Alexei realized a bond had formed between them, one that words couldn't explain. The lion remembered his scent, his voice, the hands that had pulled him from the mud. From that day on, Assad always greeted Alexei the same way, with quiet gratitude, without fear or threat. They became inseparable. Alexei started volunteering at the reserve. He couldn't leave Assad, and Assad, it seemed, didn't want to let him go. They spent hours together. Alexei cleaned the enclosure, brought food, or sometimes just sat nearby as the lion dozed, resting his head on Alexei's lap. The people at the reserve joked that Alexei had tamed the king of beasts, but he brushed it off. "I just didn't pass by," he'd say. The story of Assad and Alexei spread through the region. People came to the reserve to see the lion who survived thanks to one man. Some called it a miracle, others just luck. But for Alexei, it was something more. He realized that even a small act, stopping, not passing by, could change someone's fate. Assad became more than just a lion to him. He was a symbol that there's always room for hope in this world. A year passed. Assad had fully recovered. His mane grew thick, his eyes shone, and his roar echoed across the land, leaving everyone in awe. Alexei still visited him, and each time the lion greeted him with the same warmth and trust. They walked the reserve grounds together, and Assad, despite his power, behaved like a big cat around Alexei. One evening, sitting with Assad under a starry sky, Alexei reflected. He wasn't a hero, nor did he seek fame. He had simply done what his heart told him. And now, looking at the lion sleeping with its head on his shoulder, he understood. Sometimes all it takes is not passing by to make the world a little better. Anna, a young volunteer, walked along a trail with her team in an African reserve. Her backpack swayed slightly on her shoulders, binoculars hung around her neck, and her eyes shone with genuine love for this wild world. She had come from far away, leaving her familiar life behind to protect nature, observe animals, and become part of something greater. Her heart beat in unison with the rhythm of the savannah, and every day here was an adventure full of discoveries and new experiences. She felt truly alive, breathing in the scent of grass and listening to the sounds of the wild. But this day was destined to be special, a day that would change her life and remain in her memory forever. The team moved along the river, making notes in their journals. During the rainy season, the water here roared, the current was swift, and the banks were slippery and treacherous. Anna carefully scanned the surroundings, her gaze gliding across the horizon when suddenly she stopped. Her ears caught a faint, plaintive sound, almost drowned out by the noise of the water. She froze, listening closely. The sound repeated, thin, desperate, full of fear. "Did you hear that?" she whispered, turning to her teammates. "It sounds like a cub." Without waiting for a response, Anna moved toward the sound. The other volunteers exchanged glances but followed her, sensing her determination. After a few steps, she saw it, a tiny lion cub struggling in the river. Its small paws slipped on the muddy bottom, the current relentlessly pulling it down, and its weak cries grew fainter. On the bank, a few meters away, stood a pride of lions. Among them was the cub's mother, a lioness. She paced back and forth, letting out a low growl, her eyes filled with anxiety. But she didn't jump into the water. The current was too strong, the risk too great. Anna paused for just a second. Her heart clenched at the sight of the helpless cub. She knew every second counted and doubts couldn't stop her. "He won't make it," she said firmly, looking at her team. "If we don't help, he'll drown." One of the volunteers grabbed her arm, trying to stop her. "Anna, it's dangerous, you can't." "I have to," she cut in, shrugging off her backpack and handing it to her teammate. Kicking off her boots and rolling up her sleeves, Anna carefully descended to the water. The current hit her legs immediately, the cold piercing to the bone, but she didn't stop. The water lashed harder, trying to knock her off her feet, but Anna pressed forward, her gaze fixed on the cub. Its eyes, full of fear, met hers. It was so small, so weak, its strength fading with every moment. Anna waded deeper, the current nearly toppling her, but she held on, gripping rocks and protruding roots. Finally, she reached the cub. Gently but firmly, she grabbed it, pressing its trembling body to her chest. The cub let out a faint whimper, its wet fur sticking to her hands. The current pulled back, but Anna fought, step by step, making her way to the shore. Each breath was heavy, each step a struggle. She knew a pride of lions was nearby, and at any moment it could turn tragic. But there was no turning back. At last, her feet touched solid ground. She emerged from the water, soaked and shivering, with the cub in her arms, its heartbeat rapidly, clinging to her as if seeking protection. Anna caught her breath, but then her eyes fell on the lioness. The cub's mother stood a few steps away, her eyes gleaming in the morning light. The volunteers froze, expecting the worst. Tension hung in the air like the calm before a storm. The lioness moved forward slowly. Her movements were smooth but carried an untamed strength. Anna stood still, holding the cub tighter. She knew she faced a wild animal, and it could all end in an instant. But instead of aggression, something incredible happened. The lioness stopped beside her, her large muzzle gently touching the cub. She sniffed it, as if checking if it was unharmed. Then her gaze lifted to Anna. It was a long, deep look, free of threat, only something akin to understanding and gratitude. Everyone held their breath. The lioness leaned down, carefully took the cub by the scruff with her powerful jaws and lifted it. The cub dangled in the air, still trembling but safe now. The lioness looked at Anna once more, and in that gaze was something more than instinct. It wasn't words, but it was gratitude. Silent, profound, real. Without a sound, the lioness turned and walked slowly into the forest. The cub hung in her jaws, and she didn't look back, but Anna felt her gaze lingering. The pride followed their leader, disappearing into the tall grass. Silence fell over the riverbank, broken only by the sound of water and occasional bird calls. Anna dropped to her knees, her clothes soaked through, her heart pounding. She stared in the direction the lioness had gone, tears mixing with the water on her face. The volunteers surrounded her. Someone offered a hand, others whispered words of awe and support. But Anna remained silent. She knew she had just experienced a moment that happens once in a lifetime. The story spread through the reserve like a legend. People who had worked with wild animals for years said they had never seen anything like it. Lions are predators, their world governed by instinct, but that day nature revealed another side. The bond between human and beast, between courage and gratitude, proved stronger than fear and danger. Anna continued her work in the reserve. She still rose at dawn, checked trails, and watched over the animals. But now something new lived in her heart. a sense that she was part of this world not just as an observer but as someone who had changed the fate of one tiny creature. Each time she passed that river, she paused and looked at the water, recalling the lioness's gaze. That look became a symbol of something greater, a connection beyond words and explanations. Anna's and the cub's story became a symbol of hope. It reminded everyone that even in the wild there is room for trust, courage, and wonder. Somewhere deep in the savannah, under the warm African sun, the little cub grows, unaware that its life began with one brave act and one glance that said more than any words. This story inspires us to believe in goodness, in courage, and in the possibility of understanding and unity with nature, even in the most unexpected places. It teaches us that one person's bravery can change the world, even if just for one small creature. May this story remain in our hearts as a reminder of the power of compassion and the beauty of the wild. Dear friend, thank you for watching this video. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and give it a like. Your support helps us share more inspiring moments like this. Share this video with your friends so they too can learn about the miracle in the African savannah. Leave a comment with your thoughts on this story, and let's inspire each other together. See you soon in the world of the wild, where every day holds new wonders.